Please welcome Georgia State Representative Shay Roberts.
Good afternoon. I'm State Representative Shay Roberts. It's such an honor to be here with you and President Harris. I just wish it was under different circumstances. Reading about the entirely preventable deaths of Amber Nicole Thurman and Candy Miller broke my heart. It also made me angry. Their deaths were preventable. Because of Donald Trump's extreme abortion ban, their children are now left without mothers. These women should be here with us today. This is personal for so many women here in Georgia, including me. If Georgia's extreme ban had been in effect when I was pregnant 17 years ago, someone might be up here talking about me. I was 37 years old when my husband and I found out we were pregnant. We were thrilled, but a little nervous because of the extra caution that's necessary when you're over 35. After the 12-week blood test and genetic testing, we received devastating news that the fetus had trisomy 18, a fatal chromosomal disorder. My doctors advised that we terminate the pregnancy because of the risk to my own health. Despite our desperate desire to have a child, my husband and I made the decision to schedule the D&C, the same procedure Amber needed and was denied for 20 painful hours. I have no doubt in my mind that we made the right decision for my health and our family. Today, because of Donald Trump, my own daughters do not have the option to make this healthcare decision. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and their extreme MAGA allies are not pro-life or pro-family. Project 2025, I'm sure you've all heard it, will give Donald Trump virtually unchecked power to rule over the private lives of Georgians. It contains plans on how a Trump-Vance administration would ban abortion in all 50 states by bypassing Congress and prosecute doctors who are just trying to do their jobs. This extreme blueprint even includes plans to restrict access to contraception. Georgia women deserve to make decisions about their reproductive health without the interference of politicians. And there is only one candidate who will support our most fundamental rights and freedoms, and that is Vice President Kamala Harris. Vice President Harris is fighting to pass federal legislation to restore reproductive freedom and protect healthcare access in all 50 states. The majority of Georgians oppose our state's extreme abortion ban, and they don't want their loved ones to suffer and die like Amber and Candy. Vice President Harris understands that our daughters, our grandbabies, are entitled to the same freedoms we had for nearly 5 decades. Y'all, we're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. Georgia, we have 46 more days. Let's get to work. Our freedoms depend on it.
Please welcome Dr. Michelle Nelson.
Hi, all. My name is Dr. Michelle Nelson, and I'm here today because reproductive freedom and the lives of women, especially Georgians, are on the line this election. As a proud nurse practitioner and a proud professor of nursing, I am a fierce advocate for women in the state of Georgia getting the care that they need. You see, access to safe, quality, cost-effective care should be a right for all, not a privilege for some. You guys believe that? Georgia's extreme ban is killing women. Listen, believe, and trust women to know, understand, govern, and care for their own bodies as they see fit. We can govern our own bodies. ProPublica's devastating reporting this week revealed the tragic preventable deaths of 2 women under this current abortion ban. Mothers ripped away from their children, their families, and their dreams. It is no accident that both women were of color. We know abortion bans disproportionately harm Black women. We know that, right? In too many cases, these devastating outcomes and occurrences are preventable. These things don't have to happen, y'all. They're preventable. Georgia has one of the highest rates of Black maternal mortality rates in the nation. This extreme abortion ban impacts our entire health system. Our outcomes rival those of third world countries, and we can do better, and we must do better. 82 counties in our state do not have an OBGYN. That's 82 counties where women do not have access to basic care. I'm not talking fancy care. I'm talking basic care, an issue that is exacerbated in our rural areas. And we know that a lot of Georgia is rural. This abortion ban has created confusion and fear for providers like me in this state. Medical students are choosing not to do their residencies here because they are worried that they won't be able to provide appropriate care to their patients. And guess what? We are already in a healthcare shortage. In the midst of a healthcare shortage where we need more doctors and nurses in this state. I'm saying it. We need more. Amber Nicole Thurman was a medical assistant, providing critical care to her community. She wanted to become a nurse, just like me. And because of our draconian, outdated, unnecessary, backwards, needs to be out of here abortion ban, she died of something that is preventable. It's tragic and it is outrageous. We don't want to accept this anymore. And we can do better, correct? Georgia, women in our state cannot afford any more of this. The road to the White House runs through Georgia. The road to the White House runs through Georgia. You're not clapping hard enough. Vice President Harris is fighting to restore our basic freedoms and expand healthcare access for all Georgians. Here is your call to action. You ready? Yes. Vote. Vote like your life depends on it, and encourage others to vote like their lives depend on it, because guess what, folks? It does. It does. Help them to see that VP Harris has the deep history of advocating for women and their families. If you believe me, those of you who can, I need you to get to your feet. This is something I like to do with my students. Get up. We will not be silent. Repeat. We will not be silent. Sweet. We will not be silent. We will not be silent. We're not going back. We're not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. Georgia, I know we're fired up and ready to protect and expand reproductive freedoms for all of us. Are you ready? Do you want it? Do women deserve it? Do communities deserve it? We can make it happen, and we shall. Thank you so very much.
Please welcome Georgia State Representative Park Cannon.
I love you. My name is Park Cannon, and I am a state representative, but I'm also a doula. We just had a baby this morning, and I came here to speak to you because I'm proud to have been a longtime champion for reproductive justice in Georgia. But I need you today to share this message. I'm fighting day and night for a healthcare system that truly supports all people who need healthcare in Georgia. Trans people, queer people, Black people, everyone. And I'm proud that Vice President Harris shares that vision with me. But right now, we're seeing in real time the harsh realities for Black women, specifically seeking healthcare access under the state of this abortion ban in Georgia. And as I stand here with y'all today, I keep thinking about the providers who are in the clinic right now, the people who are going to receive services for the first time and who are worried, and the students who are in school trying to learn how to provide the care that people need. And I can't stop thinking about Candy Miller. I can't stop thinking about Amber Nicole Thurman. I can't. They deserved access and not denial. They deserved care without delay. Instead of fear-mongering, In Georgia and in every state, Black women should have the ability to make decisions about our bodies and seek reproductive care without crossing state boundaries, without crossing and traveling thousands of miles to other states. When those in power restrict, remove, or ban access to life-saving care, those of us who are historically marginalized, we're the most affected. As seen here in Georgia, with the 2 heartbreaking losses that were entirely preventable, we have to send more than hearts and prayers. We have to send action. We must send that action to the White House. You know, the families of Amber and Candy, they're forced to mourn someone who should be here today. And this reality is for so many other families who have run out of options and can't access basic reproductive health care in Georgia. Did you know over half of the counties in our state do not have an OBGYN? So I'm proud to be a doula, helping Georgians access basic care for their families. But someone else has to provide coverage in this gap. Somebody has to advocate for people, specifically people of color, as we go throughout these pregnancies. Because my experience shows me that navigating our healthcare system in the wake of Donald Trump's abortion bans has shown me the horrors that people are facing in Georgia every day. I am angry. Are y'all? Women are suffering. Women are dying across our state, rural communities. Good people. They're struggling because of hospital closures. This issue is exacerbated by the previous administration's unwillingness to care. They harmed our Medicaid system. And this session, they opposed Medicaid expansion. Georgia has one of the highest Black maternal mortality rates in the country, and our extreme abortion ban is actually killing women in our state. It must be repeated. It must be said. They are killing us in our state, and we know it. As Project 2025 says, this will just be the beginning. If Donald Trump returns to the White House, it will get even worse on day one. Their dangerous Project 25 agenda is a direct threat to women. It will ban abortion nationwide. It'll criminalize the mailing of medication abortion. It will restrict access to contraception and even force states to report women's access to care and miscarriages to the federal government. It's ridiculous. This is why we need reproductive freedom champions in the White House. This is why I stand with Vice President Kamala Harris. This is looking why I know we can talk to Governor Tim Walz and tell him what's going on, and he'll actually listen because they trust us with our bodies. They trust us to make our own decisions. They'll continue fighting to codify the right to reproductive freedom across our nation. And when elected, they will make sure that the health care that we need comes from the voices in this room. So please do not be silent. They need to hear our voices, even the MAGA Republicans, when they threaten our reproductive freedoms and lives. Because we want them to know we will speak up and we will fight for our reproductive justice. We will expand access with our own hands. We will make sure that Black women are getting the care that they need. Let's be clear. Republicans need to keep their hands off of our bodies. They need to get out of our exam rooms. So I'm ready. I've said enough. Are y'all ready? Yes. Let's elect Kamala Harris. Let's elect Tim Walz. Let's especially elect Democrats who are down ballot this election. Let's do it for the sake of our nation. Let's do it because it's overdue. Thank you so much. Let's get it done.
Please welcome Dr. Keisha L. Reddick.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Keisha Reddick. I'm an OBGYN here in Georgia, and I specialize in high-risk obstetrics. I speak to you today with a heavy heart. As you know, earlier this week, we received news reports about 2 preventable deaths in Georgia women under this state's cruel abortion ban. These reports confirm what we already knew. that abortion bans unleashed by Donald Trump are putting women's health and lives in peril. Take it from me. Every day I care for patients in Georgia under this extreme ban. I see fear in my patients' eyes. I see women who are left the state to get the care that they need, and those who are unable to do so. I watch medical students and other physicians avoid coming to our state or packing up their lives to move across the country in pursuit of building a life where they won't face jail time for upholding their oath. But back here in Georgia, we are left with fewer healthcare providers in a state facing the worst maternal mortality rates in the country. One of my patients, who's given me permission to discuss her, Callie, was forced to leave our state to get the health care that she needed. She recently shared her story as a part of the Harris Waltz Fighting for Reproductive Freedom bus in Georgia 2 weeks ago. She introduces herself as an artist, a follower of Christ, and a dedicated mother. Last year, she was thrilled to find out that she was pregnant with twins, but testing revealed that one of her twins would not survive. She received counseling from multiple physicians and was ultimately left with the decision to terminate one of her twins, so that the other viable one could survive. She actually had to go to New York. And because of the delay in treatment, she eventually had complications in her pregnancy, complications that included a high white blood cell count and other labs that trended towards sepsis. Luckily, Callie survived, and she now shares her story on behalf of everyone who cannot. I became a doctor to take care of people, to support women through their pregnancies, to save lives. But laws like the Georgia abortion ban are designed to handcuff me. Because of Donald Trump and his allies, I am forced to raise the risk of going to prison against my own oath to take care of patients. I have 2 daughters and are going to have the same rights that I did growing up. But she has hope. Why? Because she has Vice President Kamala Harris. Vice President Harris has been fighting her whole career to protect women. She stood up for the rights of women and girls as a prosecutor, as an attorney general, as a senator, and as the vice president. Since Roe v. Wade was returned, she has been leading the charge to restore reproductive freedom. She has traveled across the country to lift up the voices of patients and medical providers and advocates. She's listened to our stories, and she's made sure that the country is listening too. She is the first sitting vice president in history to visit a reproductive health clinic. And as president, she will sign a bill to restore those rights. No one is more committed to reproductive freedom than Vice President Harris. I wish I could say the same for Donald Trump. He thinks that he knows better than medical professionals like me. And if given a second term, he will go even further to attack our reproductive freedoms. That is why we must do everything to elect Vice President Harris and Tim Walz. Lives depend on it. I am grateful to be here with you all today to shed light on this healthcare crisis in our state and in the states across our country. And I'm truly honored to introduce to you our next president and true champions in this fight, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Can we please hear for Dr. Reddick? Please. Please have a seat, everyone. Please have a seat. It's so good to be back in Atlanta. Thank you all. Thank you. You know, I just want to say, thank you. I want to say about Dr. Reddick, you know, some of you may have seen, I did an event last night with Oprah Winfrey, and that it highlighted so many tragic stories, but it also highlighted so many important issues, which is why everyone has taken time out of your busy lives to be here this afternoon. And it highlighted the importance of a Dr. Reddick. Because the courage, Dr. Reddick, that you are showing in the face of these arcane and immoral laws to stand so publicly and talk about your commitment to your oath and to the health and well-being of people who need to be seen and treated with dignity is so extraordinary. And I do believe in moments of crisis, the world has a way of revealing the heroes among us. And I would say, Dr. Reddick, you are one of them. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to all of the elected and community leaders who have joined us today. Thank you, everybody who is here. So, Georgia, this election right here is a fight for the future. It is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom. For freedom. And we know in America, freedom is not to be given, it is not to be bestowed, it is ours by right. It is ours by right. And that includes the fundamental freedom of a woman to be able to make decisions about her own body and not have her government telling her what to do. Yes, we must trust women. And we all know how we got here. When Donald Trump was president, he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court, the Court of Thurgood and RBG, with the intention that they would overturn the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as he intended, they did. And now more than 20 states have Trump abortion bans. Extremists that have passed laws that criminalize healthcare providers, doctors, and nurses, and punish women. In 2 states of those states, they provide for prison for life. Prison for life for healthcare providers for simply providing reproductive care, the care they so earnestly and rightly believe must be delivered. All Trump abortion bans. And think about this. Many of these bans make no exception even for rape and incest. Now, many of you know I started my career as a prosecutor, specializing in crimes of violence against women and children. What many of you may not know is why. So when I was in high school, my best friend, I learned, was being molested by her stepfather. And I said to her, look, you got to come and stay with us. I called my mother. She said, of course she does. And she came and she stayed with us. And so I made the decision early in my life that I wanted to do the work that was about protecting the most vulnerable among us. and doing the work that was about giving them dignity in the process. And so, well, thank everybody here for being here, standing in solidarity around the importance of that. And so I say to you then, from that experience and from the work that I've done, the idea that someone who survives a crime of violence to their body, a violation of their body, would not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next, that's immoral. That's immoral. And let us agree, and I know we do, one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government should not be telling her what to do. If she chooses, she will talk with her pastor, her priest, her rabbi, her imam. But it should not be the government or Donald Trump telling her what to do with her body. And think about it. The stories that Dr. Reddick shares with us, the stories we heard last night, the stories we've been hearing for 2 years. 1 in 3 women in America lives in a state with a Trump abortion ban. This includes Georgia and every state in the South except Virginia. Think about that when you also combine that with what we know has been longstanding neglect around an issue like maternal mortality. Think about that when you compound that with what has been longstanding neglect of women in communities with a lack of the adequate resources they need for healthcare, prenatal, during their pregnancy, postpartum. Think about that. And these hypocrites want to start talking about this is in the best interest of women and children. Well, where you been? Where you been when it comes to taking care of the women and children of America? Where you been? How dare they? How dare they? Come on. And we understand the impact of these bans and the horrific reality that women and families, their husbands, their partners, their parents, their children are facing as a consequence every single day. Since Roe was overturned, I have met women who were refused care during a miscarriage, wanted to have a child, suffering a miscarriage. I met a woman, I've actually met several, who were turned away from the emergency room. One at early stages after the Dobbs decision came down told me with tears, she was with her husband, about how only when she developed sepsis did she receive emergency care. Only when she developed sepsis did she receive emergency care. And now we know that at least 2 women, and those are only the stories we know, here in the state of Georgia, died because of a Trump abortion ban. One, and we heard about her story last night, a vibrant 28-year-old young woman. She was ambitious. You know, I talked with her mother and her sisters about her, and they described such an extraordinary life of a person. She was excited. She was working hard. She was a medical assistant. She was going to nursing school, raising her 6-year-old son. She was really proud that she had finally worked so hard that she gained the independence. Her family was telling me that she was able to get an apartment in a gated community with a pool for her son to play in. She was so proud, and she was headed to nursing school. And her name, and we will speak her name, Amber Nicole Thurman. Amber Nicole Thurman. Amber Nicole Thurman. That's right. And she had her future all planned out. And it was her plan. You know, let's understand, just take pause on that for a moment. She had her plan, what she wanted to do for her son, for herself, for their future. And so when she discovered that she was pregnant, she decided she wanted to have an abortion. But because of the Trump abortion ban here in Georgia, she was forced to travel out of state to receive the health care that she needed. But when she returned to Georgia, she needed additional care. So she went to a hospital. But you see, under the Trump abortion ban, her doctors could have faced up to a decade in prison for providing Amber the care she needed. Understand what a law like this means. Doctors have to wait until the patient is at death's door before they take action. You know, on the other side of my, you know, the other folks, Trump and his running mate, and they'll talk about, oh yeah, but I do believe in the exception to save the mother's life. Okay, all right, let's break that down, shall we? Let's break that down. Let's break that down. So we're saying that we're going to create public policy that says that a doctor, a healthcare provider, will only kick in to give the care that somebody needs if they're about to die? Think about what we are saying right now. You're saying that good policy, logical policy, moral policy, humane policy is about saying that a healthcare provider will only start providing that care when you're about to die? And so Amber waited 20 hours. 20 hours. Excruciating hours. Until finally she was in enough physical distress that her doctors thought they would be okay to treat her. But it was too late. She died of sepsis. And her last words to her mother, which her mother, as you know, tears up and cries every time she speaks it. Last words to her mother, promise me you'll take care of my son. So I met last night and I spent time with Amber's mother and her sisters, and they spoke about Amber, a daughter, a sister, a mother, with the deep love that you can imagine, and how terribly they miss her. And their pain is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Amber's mother, Shanette, told me that is over and over again in her head when she learned about, she spoke to her. It was preventable. Because you see, medical experts have now determined that Amber's death was preventable. And through the pain and the grief of her mother, who courageously told her story, I promised her, as she has asked, that we will make sure Amber is not just remembered as a statistic. That she will not just be remembered as a statistic. So that people will know she was a mother and a daughter and a sister, and that she was loved, and that she should be alive today. And that she should be alive today. And many of us remember, there's so many leaders here, from 2 years ago when the Dobbs decision came down. We knew this could happen. There is a word preventable, and there is another word, predictable. And the reality is, for every story we hear of the suffering under Trump abortion bans, there are so many other stories we're not hearing, but where suffering is happening every day in our country. An untold number of people suffering. Women who are also being made to feel as though they did something wrong. The judgment factor here is outrageous. Being made as though to feel as though they are criminals, as though they are alone. So to those women, to those families, I say on behalf of what I believe we all say, we see you and you are not alone, and we are all here standing with you. Standing with you. You are not alone. You are not alone. So Georgia, we will not be silent. And we will not be silent. But this is a healthcare crisis. This is a healthcare crisis, and Donald Trump is the architect of this crisis. He brags about overturning Roe v. Wade. In his own words, quote, "I did it and I'm proud to have done it," he says. He is proud that women are dying, proud that doctors and nurses could be thrown in prison for administering care, proud that young women today have fewer rights than their mothers and grandmothers. How dare he? How dare he? And in our debate last week, well, that was fun. But I know everyone here paid attention to the words, though, the words, right? I'm trying to get another debate. We'll see. But in our debate last week, remember when he said everyone wanted Roe v. Wade to be overturned? Well, exactly. I don't know who everyone is either, because women have been arrested and charged for miscarriages. They didn't want that. I was speaking with a physician who is here, who has in her professional experience been administering care to girls. And what we know is that 12 and 13-year-old survivors of assault are being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They didn't want this. And couples just trying to grow their family being cut off in the middle of IVF treatments, they didn't want this. And on that last point, you probably saw this week for the second time, Republicans in the United States Senate blocked a bill that would protect access to IVF treatment. Now consider, among the multitude of ironies, the fact that on the one hand, these extremists want to tell women they don't have the freedom to end an unwanted pregnancy. And on the other hand, these extremists are telling women and their partners they don't have the freedom to start a family. Okay. And they want to restrict access to contraception as well. And now Donald Trump says that he would personally cast his vote in Florida, which is where he now lives, to support their extreme abortion ban, just like the one that is here in Georgia. And well, that's a whole different policy discussion that we'll have for another day. But let's understand, if he is elected again as president, Donald Trump will go further. But we know what we're up against, and we must speak of the stakes. We must remind, everybody here knows, but we got to remind our friends, our neighbors, our coworkers, the stakes are so high. Because if he is elected again, I am certain he will sign a national abortion ban, which would outlaw abortion in every single state. And he would create a national anti-abortion coordinator. Look at Project 2025. And force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. It's right there. I can't believe they put that Project 2025 in writing. They literally put it in writing. They bound it. They handed it out. I mean, they are simply out of their minds. And it's clear that they just don't trust women. Well, we trust women. We trust women. And like Dr. Reddick said, when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedoms as President of the United States, I will so proudly sign it into law. I will so proudly sign it into law. Proudly sign it into law. So 46 days to go. And let us remember that momentum on this and so many issues, momentum is on our side. Let's remember, since Roe was overturned, every time reproductive freedom has been on the ballot, from Kansas to California to Kentucky, in Michigan, Montana, Vermont, and Ohio, the people of America have voted for freedom. The people of America have voted for freedom. And not just by a little, but by overwhelming margins, from so-called red states to so-called blue states, providing and making clear also, this is not a partisan issue. This is not a partisan issue. And it is proving that the voice of the people has been heard and will be heard again. And will be heard again. So, 46 days to go in probably the most consequential election of our lifetimes. And with that, then, today I ask Georgia, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we trust women? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you, and God bless the United States.
Don't get mad. Vote.